What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi and Adam Peri. We are going to be doing some more shows together, so I wanted to introduce Adam. I'm sure most of you guys in our Discord already know who Adam is and has been around for a while. We're really excited to be doing this with him, and we're going to be doing some different types of shows throughout the year. But we thought, why not get it started off with the Showdown slate on this very light Tuesday night for NBA. It's just one game, and we have the NBA Cup. So first of all, Adam, welcome, and really happy to have you aboard with us doing this.
Yeah, thanks. It's going to be great to be here. I think you and I, when we do shows, will be a good complement because I am more of just a trust the projections kind of guy, but do have some processes for how to make those better. And you're a no baller, so
yeah, we have the right mix. It's sort of similar to mix as to mine and cheats, but you've been doing this stuff for a while. It's always everybody's got their own different angle of how to do these things and how to approach it. So I guess before we get into just talking about all this stuff, like talk a little bit about your Showdown process in general and what you do.
Yeah, we talked about this before we went on. I'm not changing much except that what I would do. So now I'll upload sheets or Goldie's projections, and SaberSim lets you make a field now. So they'll use your ownership to create a projected field, and it'll be up to 5,000 people. So usually on the showdowns, like even the nighttime showdowns, about 4 to 5K people in it. This one's a little bigger, but so what you'll do is you'll make a 5,000 man field using SaberSim, and that'll get you a little different, right? Because you're not using the same field that every other SaberSim user is using. And if your ownership's accurate, you'll probably create a pretty good field. A lot of that depends on ownership, but I think we have pretty damn good ownership projections. So instead of simming against SaberSim's field, I'm going to sim against mine. And using the projections. And then all I do after that is load them up. So tonight I'll have about 40 lineups, whichever ones come out, creating out the best. I'm going to load them up. Mm-hmm. And then I think the real, the real important work comes after the slate when you evaluate how you did. So I like to look across sources. I look in SaberSim, I look at other sources in the industry to see how I grade in the post-contest sims. And I'm always trying to be plus EV in both, right? Because it's easy to be plus EV in SaberSims if you're using their stuff. If you could be plus EV in multiple sims, then you probably have more of a robust process. And that's about it. So really, it's a kind of a trusting the projections to create everything and build.
Absolutely. And with that said, we got Sheets just popped on in here. Good to see you in here, Sheets.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
We've got Adam's maiden voyage here, so we're talking through some Showdown. We thought it'd be a good slate to start off with, and it should be some fun.
It's a maiden voyage. We did one video years ago. It was like when I first got into it, we did a coaching thing.
Oh, that's right.
This is like second technically.
Well, Adam, when it comes to an NBA Showdown, I mean, you're going to be doing the coaching here because I mean, what he mentioned to me in Discord was that he doesn't even play NBA Classic. He focuses completely on NBA Showdown, which is very unique. And you're not the first person I'm hearing that from, by the way. There's another person who I heard about that does something similar, or was it just Baseball Showdown? I forget. But nonetheless, that is very unique. So I'm very curious to hear your takes on these because I'm very interested in Showdown related items, whether it be Showdown football or MMA, which to me is very similar to Showdown. It's threading that needle, right, between picking lineups that have a chance to win and picking lineups that have a chance to be unique. Just all in the quest to make the most money. So I'm very interested to hear your insights on what you do because like in football, you play football Showdown. I don't really care about the projections. I mean, really. I mean, you sort of do, but everything's so event-driven that you can leave money on the table. You could play guys you've never heard of. You could play guys that might get 2 snaps or whatever it is. But with NBA, I mean, it's such a projection-driven sport that if you deviate too much from it, you're just asking for trouble. So I guess the question is, how much trouble can you ask for, right?
You can't ask for as much in NBA. You'll see that because you'll see what happens with NBA is you'll get 1 or 2 guys on a team that are projected 15 to 20 points higher, right? There was one pro. There was a showdown the other day. It was like San Antonio and some other team, that where the points kind of distribute evenly, and then San Antonio just has Wemby, right? So I looked at a pros lineup set after he was playing like the full 150. He was like 90% Wembanyama.
Yeah.
And he's getting unique. You know, he's able to build unique lineups.
But how do you do that, Adam? You know, are you just like letting the Sims get you hopefully unique lineups? Are you leaving money on the table? Are you doing geo mean filter? How are you playing?
Oh, I'm letting the Sims.
Okay.
I have no geomean filter.
Okay.
So I found the problem with geomean is that there's too many people using it.
That's interesting.
Or at least that's my guess, right? So I had some trouble getting unique with geomean. I'm not using any. I'm only building lineups up to like 49.8, right?
Okay.
So I'm never using the full salary. So I'm not even building those, right? So a lot of people do this. They'll limit the salary after. I don't think you want to do that, right? You might as well build 5,000 lineups that you're going to like instead of having a set of 5,000 lineups and having to discard 500 to 1,000 right off the bat.
That's really interesting. So I'm glad you're here. We're going to do more of these because I want to challenge a lot of the things I've been thinking about because you're one of the sharper guys out there. The first thing I would ask is, is there something to 49.8 that means something, or is it just kind of like we're just kind of guessing?
I'm just kind of guessing.
Yeah,
I've had good results. Did you hear that? Did you hear? So I told Bobby a little bit about the process before. I'm creating a field because SaberSim has the new tool that lets you create a field.
Yeah.
So I'm using, your ownerships or Goldie's ownerships or my own ownerships to upload into SaberSim, right?
Yeah.
And let them create a field for me that predicts dupes and things based on the unique ownership. So I'm not using the SaberSim field that everyone else is using.
Yeah. So
and then I'm running against that, and then I'm just mostly uploading it.
I get that. So the 49.8 thing again, I would be curious. I would challenge that only because if you're going to let the Sims run, it's supposed to factor in what lineups are getting there are being played at 5. Or excuse me, if you're building your own fields. So
okay. So you're right, that I'm just kind of using a blunt heuristic, right? Because I've noticed anecdotally, like I'll have these 50K lineups that it says, okay, there's going to be 4 of these in there, and it gets duped like 30 times, but it's anecdotal, right? So that's true. You can theoretically build plus EV unduped 50K lineups. It happens, right? So the 49.8 is just kind of a blunt way, and I could be leaving some good lineups on the table. That's true.
And that's the other interesting thing you mentioned that just kind of hit me was that you will make that adjustment pre-build as opposed to post-build.
I was going to tell you this, right? Because I was going to tell you this. I saw you do a hockey video not long ago, and what you do. So like you and I agree, we both only want big stacks,
right?
4-3 and up.
But you do a pre-flop and I do a post-flop.
I do a pre-flop. That's a pre-build.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't see any reason to even build stacks that are less than 4-3, because what you're going to do is you're going to build 5,000. You're going to have to discard 1 to 2K right off the bat. But I'd rather just build 5,000 that I could potentially use. And that gives me way more potentially good lineups. The other thing I'll do is like, look at what you build. You'll notice that like there's some stacks that just aren't going to show up.
Right.
Very much. You'll get, 0.5% of, I don't know, St. Louis or something.
Right.
0.5% of San Jose. And so sometimes, I'll bump all of them so I get like at least 1% of everyone, depending on how big or small the slate is, right? Because I want some of those in there because I want to see what the sim says. So like today I just ran right out of the box. But now we're talking NHL. This is probably a big mistake, but I ran right out of the box with NHL. And I got 15% 5-man stacks of Winnipeg, right? So they're really overrepresented. And I'm not getting any of, let's say, New Jersey. New Jersey there may be good New Jersey lineups to play, but I just wasn't getting them. So I'm going to do all these pre-flop. And I have the settings there so I can do it pretty quickly. It's
because when I looked at it the other way, I looked at it that you start with the 5,000 quote unquote best, and then you filter backwards because if you start with a restriction, you just run the risk of having a lot of really bad projected lineups in your pool.
But the Sims will take care of that.
I guess.
I mean, they in theory they should.
I guess.
I
got to think about this. Okay.
Yeah. Well, why not just all right? Yeah, we're getting off topic.
No. We're on topic.
This is all.
We're on DFS topic, but we're off NBA Showdown.
We're on topic because we're talking about NBA as well.
Yeah.
So you're going to take whatever salary you want to leave on the table, and you're just going to put minimum salary for max salary 49.8 before you even build your initial 5. And do you build 5,000 to 2,000? Because I know they default to 2,000.
Always 5,000. It takes some time, but I think it's worth it.
Okay.
So
okay.
And I'm going to do it as close to post as I can, right? So,
right.
5,000 probably takes like 10 minutes to get to 5,000.
Right.
So try and give myself about 15 minutes before the slate starts.
Yeah, I'm curious to ask a quick question about this because, I'm looking at things tonight, and you're going to have a guy who's 30% owned basically as a captain in Shea, which certainly makes some sense from just a logic standpoint. But am I? And I know the answer to my question in a lot of ways is usually going to be yes. But if I'm only playing 30 lineups and there's a million entries or whatever, I have a reasonable take that I can just X him out as the captain and lock him into the flex. And I think that's an interesting starting point to have at least a way of getting different. What do you think about things like that, Adam?
You can handle this one first, Adam, because I've answered this 30 times.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's completely fine, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to see what that process gives me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have, a field where he's 30% and it says you should play Shea at 70%, then I'm playing Shea at 70%.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't look too much at what I got.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, this is a little bit different of a slate. And I think the ownership, it's probably using predictions on ownership across lots of Showdown slates. But this is a unique slate in that it's the only game tonight. Mm-hmm. And any casual who's playing NBA is playing NBA. So I'd be a little worried about the ownership. This is a little tangent, but I'd be a little worried about the Shea ownership at captain, the Giannis ownership at captain, of being higher than it's projected, just because of the nature, especially in the flagship, and the dupes being higher in those kind of lineups and things. Then they're going to predict. Let's see. Curious what Sheets has to say.
We're going to It's just very sort of related to what you were saying. I was holding back on another thing I wanted to mention to you. And again, we'll have plenty of discussions over many sports over the next however long. But one of the issues that you have when you build your lineups and then make that your field, okay? When you create your own custom field, relative to what you just said is that the field is going to have like 20% like hopeless lineups, okay, or like terrible lineups. And when you're building a field of 5,000 with good projections, you're not going to get that. You're going to get all of those 5,000 are going to be reasonable. So when you use that as your contest field, it's off. I don't want to say bad or whatever. It's just off. Not that the SaberSim one is any better, because SaberSim basically does well. I mean, they do mostly by projected ownership about how they create their fields. So when it comes to building your own fields, I like to use that technique and basically sim against yourself, right? When the projections are really tight and like everybody's kind of using them like tennis. Like in tennis, I'm going to go ahead and just build my 5,000 and just sim against myself and kind of roll, because I don't think that there's that many like just hopeless lineups, for example, like in tennis or League of Legends or whatever, like the niche sports that the same guys are playing. So like to your point, on a night like this, where I guess every casual is playing, their drafting's not stupid. They put a big prize pool up, for this thing, so everybody's going to play. And I think that, to your point that you made in Discord relative to hockey, I think a lot of people, well, let's call casual something else. Let's say casual Showdown players, which basically means all the regs from every other sport.
Mhm.
I think they're gonna get their sim of choice and just jam, whatever they get, and whether they use Saber Sim or Stochastic or whatever else there is out there, they're gonna say, well, this is something to do. Let's just go cram, So that's the type you're up against in something like this. So I guess that means that in a way, I don't know, maybe you should just use your own field. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I want to clarify. I'm going to make a Showdown video that shows what I'm doing.
Yeah,
so just to clarify, I'm not simming against the good lineups I create. SaberSim has a feature now where they'll create a field using your ownership, and they'll try and create bad lineups and these things, kind of like the field they're creating, just using your ownership. So then I'm creating a good build where I think they're 5,000, hopefully good lineups, some heuristics like not using the full salary, etc. And then simming that against what I think the field's going to do in this field lineup. So I'm not quite simming against myself. The other thing I'll say is we're making an assumption here. Like we're saying, well, the casuals are going to have higher than this and dupes will be higher. And sometimes highly duped lineups are still good lineups. So there's an assumption here that if you have in 100,000 to first contest, if you have, some highly projected Shea captain lineup that's duped 150 times, that is negative EV. That is not necessarily negative EV. And in a portfolio of lineups, it may have a very important place, right? Because it may allow you to get different across your portfolio and take a different kinds of risks with different lineups.
Yeah, and that's something I think about a lot. Is it okay? Let's say you're in MMA, or I speak about mostly with MMA. But is it okay to have? Let's take it to the extreme. 50 lineups that are going to be duped 150 times. If you have 100 lineups that are going to be completely unique, like, is that okay? Or are you just supposed to may have all your lineups be good? You know what I mean? And all your lineups be not that highly duped. And I thought of this. This was in the tennis streets like a year ago. I always do my post whenever they release the tennis lock after lock. I look and see who's most unique. I even do I call dupe push-ups. Like as many dupes as I have, I'll do push-ups on stream, whatever. And then I'll look and I'll even see in some of the Discords. I'm like, this guy, I even post, dude, what are you doing? You got 113 dupes, whatever. It's like, but not all my lineups are duped like that. I'm like, I guess, but so again, that's good. That's next level shit, like portfolio management. Like if is it okay to have some of the lineups not be that great from a dupe perspective if you're going to have others that are?
Yeah. I mean, the only answer to that is, you could see how your portfolio looks at post contest,
right? Sure.
But you still won't not necessarily know how it's all working together. Mm-hmm. So we have a very broad answer to that, but how each one is affecting it is not necessarily answered by that. So
I'm gonna log off because I want to do this hockey.
Okay, yeah, well, and we'll get out of here in a few minutes. I'll just go throw a couple of quote unquote supposed no ball takes or whatever because I think that was all really, really interesting. But it's it's obviously we all approach things in different ways. And I was playing and doing well at DFS before there was any legitimate projections that made any sense, and that was in a funny way. This whole new world has really, really kind of made it harder for me because I was cruising. It was a little bit like the old days in poker when I was crushing in 2005 to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then around 2013, it started getting a little bit tougher. And then after the Black Friday, it just continued to go in that way. So my issue is like I see somebody's going to be 30% owned as a captain. And it makes perfect sense for Shea tonight. If you're playing a cash game lineup, you would play Shea. My personal intention tonight will be to get more Giannis than Shea. It's the only position that the Thunder could potentially struggle with. I'm not saying they will, but this is one of the best defensive teams we've had in recent NBA history. And they are really good against the guards and the wings. And Giannis is a unique snowflake that they don't really have a direct matchup for him that I think it gives Giannis an edge. I also think this game matters to a team that's been on the rocks like Milwaukee after their horrible start this season, very disappointing last season. And I think this game, even though it's not a playoff game, is going to have a little bit of a playoff type of feel. I think so for the Thunder as well. But I'm going to take that just given the ownership we got Giannis at cap. Actually, you know what? His captain ownership came up quite a bit during this. So I actually was going to take a bigger stand than I'm probably going to take now. Now we've got him at 25% as a captain and Shea 25%, 23%. I think it's worthwhile considering the other plays. So the other one I'm going to end up going higher on than the field by a lot is taking a shot on a guy like Bobby Portis. We just saw it a couple games ago where in a must-win-ish type of game that he gets hot. And again, it's the same position thing as Giannis, and he and Giannis can both deliver at the same time. He's put up 40 or more in 2 of his last 3 games. And like I said, there's no great matchup against the Thunder, but if there was one to try and take advantage of, it's probably that big forward spot / center. Even that is not ideal, but it's still better than other things. And you're just going to have so much ownership between Giannis and Shea that I'm actually trying to find builds that make sense to me with taking a shot on a guy like Isaiah Joe or Bobby Portis, who, Bobby Portis is a little more expensive, obviously, but Isaiah Joe, that'll let you get the other 5 guys in you want, because the guys you're going to want to have the most exposure to are clearly Shea, Jalen Williams, Giannis, Damian Lillard, Hartenstein would be the main 5, and then probably for some people would say Middleton would be next. But the only way to get those guys in is to play an Isaiah Joe or an Aaron Wiggins at captain. I'll take more of my chances with a guy like Isaiah Joe just because he can get hot from 3-point range. But I'm going to try to make sure I cap my ownership somewhere below, and possibly even consider like fading one of them entirely. But I'm trying to cap my ownership on Shea and Giannis at probably about half the field at the most is what I want to get of them, just because I don't think that there's any, you run into so many difficult situations of how to make that work if you are using them as a captain from the way that I build. Now, I'm not saying it's the right way to build. Your process is very different, but that's my take, just sort of like from what I think makes the most sense. The most advantageous spot for the Bucks, Giannis and Bobby Portis, and the most advantageous, unfortunately, for the Thunder is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's going to be 1,000,000% owned. And I don't think I will have any lineups without Shai in my flex. I might have 1 or 2 without Giannis, but I would not fade Shai in the flex at all. I would make sure he's in 100% of my lineups, whether whatever percentage he's on, he is a captain. I'll just offload it and play him in the flex and hope for the range of outcomes where Isaiah Joe hits 5 threes tonight, or Taurean Prince puts up 25 fantasy points, and that way I can play Shai and Giannis both together in the flex with one of the Lillard, Hartenstein, Jalen Williams types. Just something I was thinking about.
Yeah, I'd say
good.
I had a similar feeling about Portis, right? Like he has stepped up in so many big games over his career.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, like most guys like to trust the projections, but he's a baller. He has stepped up so many times in the playoffs, in the finals, and not just put up good real life games, but put up good fantasy games in them as well.
Yeah.
So I'm totally high on Portis. Totally agree. The other thing I heard, so I know Oklahoma City runs a pretty deep rotation.
Yeah.
But they've been tightening it up as the NBA Cup goes along. And I'm not sure the projections really have captured that yet on the increased minutes to some of their starters, right? So like all these projections go up a little bit than what these might be if they're regressing these to their baseline, but their minutes have been going up lately. So that might make some of the bench a little bit weaker in terms of projections.
Yeah, I agree, especially as it applies to a guy like Aaron Wiggins was playing 20 minutes a game until these last quarterfinal games started for the Cup. Now he's playing 8 or 9 minutes a game. So they're obviously tightening their rotation, like you're saying. But there's guys off the bench like Caruso's going to play 20 plus minutes no matter what. Isaiah Joe will get a look no matter what. He'll play somewhere between 15 and 20 something depending on how it's going. And Cason Wallace is another one who's a starter who could actually see minutes go back, but he's just been playing so great. It's hard to ignore it. Unfortunately, we're probably gonna have to get out of here because Sheets is trying to do his NHL video right now. But I thought this was a good start of just talking about like just sort of an outlook of just sort of the way you do things. And I want to continue that conversation sort of with everything that we approach, because we do have very different takes on how we do things, how we build and all that. This is the first look, so a lot of things are going to change. Even the ownership I don't trust is anywhere near accurate yet. We're probably a little ways away from that. But this is sort of the first run that SaberSim was giving you. This is the flex, and this is before I've entered my stuff, but I haven't applied it all yet. This is sort of the ways to get different. They took the Terrain Prince route because he's going to play a bunch of minutes. I get that idea, but it sort of fits that idea of trying to get these 4 of these top 5 guys into most of your lineups, for me at least. Adam, thanks so much, man. Anything else before we get out of here? And sorry to cut it a little short, but we unfortunately
nothing else. I'm sorry we didn't talk that much basketball.
Yeah, it's fine.
Of the game, but we'll get into it more in the future.
Absolutely.
Everyone else take a look at it. I'm going to make some process videos like Sheets does, just going through my NBA Showdown process. And, so if anyone's interested in that,
that'd be great.
I'll put them together. And, I'm sure the community is going to have suggestions too, right? Yeah. I mean, my process is only in my head. So hearing from everyone else can only make it stronger. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, thanks so much. And we look forward to all that, and we look forward to getting more involved. I'll hit you up in Discord. I've got a few other things to catch up with you on. And good luck to everybody tonight. I will try to pop in later for a live show. It's only really going to matter that much if there's major differences, but even still, I don't mind coming on for a few minutes and just talking through what we like about the slate. Probably be around 7 Eastern or so. So I'm gonna plan on doing that solo. Anyway, Adam, thanks again. Good luck, everybody, and we'll see you guys.